What's up, Redemption? How you doing? Welcome back into the Threshing Floor podcast. On this week's return episode, we've got Chris Fachman breaking down all kinds of goodies. So, glad to be back. Thank you for being here. Let's get right into it. All right, guys. The Threshing Floor is back. We are on site in Knoxville, Tennessee at Meridian Baptist Church, where your favorite elder and card designer resides.
Oof. Sorry, Tyler.
Here with Mr. Chris Fachman, and lurking in the corner is Mr. Jeremy Chambers, who just won our district today with another fun deck. So this might possibly be the coolest podcast we've had in a while, because it's the only podcast we've had in a while. So the standard is low, like the bar is low. It's easy to achieve greatness because there's nothing to compare it to.
That's good
but
for me.
There also is some announcements forthcoming here, and that's why we've got Chris here. Some of the biggest announcements in redemption history, I would say. So, you want to talk about your tournament or anything first before we jump right into the breaking news, or do you want to just hit it straight up?
Yeah, no, I just the tournament was fun. Brian Jones actually hit me up and said, "Hey, I want my guys to get away for a little bit, have a play some redemption, so get them out of the school. So let's come down there, host a tournament. I appreciate you guys coming up and hanging out with us too, making it a good turnout and a lot of fun."
Yeah,
so,
we ended up having 14 Type 1 players at a district.
Yes.
That's pretty good for...
Yeah, and I had 3 that are out of town, so
yeah,
could have been more for sure.
And for those of you that don't know, Brian does teach at a boarding school, so that's why he was looking to get the kids out. Yeah. And he's been sharing redemption with them. He has really been taking the reins of the Plus One initiative. My man has taught like 30-plus new students, and he's got a healthy play group. I mean, he brought 10, or no, it was it 9, and his one teacher helper.
It was 8 total, and he had 2 guys drop out last minute.
Oh, okay.
So he was going to bring 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you guys are doing the Plus One initiative, you're going to have some work to catch up to my man Brian Jones. I guess we'll just give you the floor to tell us about a while back on the spoiler channel. There was this card came out, and naturally I zoomed in, and it was this little tree diagram, and the roots spelled out the word roots. So there's got to be something with roots. So can you please tell us what roots is?
It's called bush.
It's
tree.
Called bush. Okay.
The tree bush?
Tree bush. Jeb bush.
Jeb bush. There you go. And it's all fake spoilers. That's all it is.
Okay, so fake spoilers.
Yeah, we're just having fun with that.
Okay.
No, for that, I kind of need to talk about something else first.
Okay. Well, you've got the list. I'm just the
You're
guy
just spitballing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you just take off on the first big point.
I don't know what's more exciting. Should we go ahead and do this?
Yeah, I think that's a necessary thing, because it's like the next step in the progress of this tournament season. So, Mr. Classic, for our friend Jeremy here, who is hosting but being kind of a silent host, giving you the duties of actually hosting the facilities and whatnot. Mr. Classic now has dates, and those dates are
March 17th and 18th here in Knoxville, Tennessee.
So that will be a Friday and Saturday.
Yes.
And do you guys have a schedule of events yet that is able to be shared, or is it just like the ballpark? These are the dates.
I think I can share, because Jay just put it on Discord today, that the Classic Invitational, I believe is what it's called, is the 8-man tournament to win the belt. That is, Jay announced today that is scrolls only.
Scrolls only.
So those 8 are going to do scrolls only, and then my understanding is that's Friday night, and then Saturday we're going to have the big Classic tournament, which is all cards in print, obviously minus the banned ones. And that's going to be Saturday. And then the other plan is, I'm not sure the time frame of this, whether we're going to do it late Friday night since there's only 8 people playing, or try to squeeze it in Saturday afternoon. But we are going to plan on doing a booster draft with all of the old school packs, the foil packs, and the Disciple TXP packs minus the Warriors, since those are kind of ridiculous in price.
And so that's just going to basically be like classic.
Yeah, so classic
style,
booster
like
draft.
classic booster.
Literally classic booster draft.
So not that these are the filler cards at the back of the new sets.
They are
that
the
you
cards.
open. They are the cards.
Yes.
So Ishmael is not going to be in there because he's in Warriors, right?
Ishmael is in one of the 10s.
Oh, so
yeah, so he would not be.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not eligible. The stuff like Edict and Ehud's Dagger and things like that were in the 10s would not be included unless they're in the back of a TXP or Disciples packs. It's been so long since I've opened one of those, I don't remember fully there. So, yeah, it's all the classic cards only. So,
sweet. So you have dates for that. I do believe Little Bird told me that we have dates for something else. Are those official?
They are official. I have got confirmation that we are doing Nationals in Knoxville, Tennessee on the last weekend of July 27th through July 29th.
Nice. So you can start planning now. You know where you're headed. You know the dates now. And let's start working on, pushing the numbers. We increased a good bit last year. Let's keep it going. So official dates, it just makes it almost feel real, like Nationals is going to happen again.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have to ride Jeremy's coattails to another win in teams or something. Yeah. All right, so we've got dates out of the way. Everybody needs a date to prom, but what else do they need?
What else do they need?
They need a.
I'm not sure. You tell me.
You need to bring something to the date.
Oh, I need to bring something to the date. Well, what could we bring to the date? Have we already announced that we will have Israel's Rebellion release at Nationals?
That has been the word on the street, but that hasn't been the word from the horse's mouth directly.
So if you're calling me a horse, then I guess that's directly.
Yes, I guess if the shoe fits.
Yeah, no, that's the plan. So barring any crazy setback, that is the plan. That we will have Israel's Rebellion, not, we'll talk about Israel's deliverance here in just a second, but we will have Israel's Rebellion here at Nationals as the release, just like we did GOC Phase 2 for last year's Nationals. That'll be the release at this year's Nationals.
So, do you guys know exactly how many cards, like you guys hammered down the size of the set?
Yeah, that was a call from Rob. He requested the set size. So we absolutely have that. We are going back down to the 129 card sets, which will include 3 ultra rares. That's how those typically work, like the Cloud of Witness, Revelation of John sets. That's the same size those are. As far as anything like Ultra Rare Plus or anything like that, that's not been resolved yet or hasn't been discussed. But we will do a 129 set with 3 ultra rares.
Cool.
A little bit smaller for those of you who have collection anxiety.
Yeah.
or whatever we want to call that.
And I guess the next question that people will come up with is, only 3 ultra rares, how many will come in a box? I'm guessing that'll most likely be 1 per.
That's my assumption because that's how it's always been with the 129 card sets. But again, that is a Rob question. All of that will be decided by him.
And I guess also possibly depends on if they double them and have ultra rare plus.
Same, yeah, and the same thing with if Rob would like us to do that, then we'll make that work.
Cool. Israel's deliverance. Mm-hmm. So they were delivered and then they rebelled.
They did. They were delivered and then they ran away. So you want to know where they went, right?
Yeah.
So it's still here. It's still very much in the plans, and there has been some changes. I don't know if you were at Nationals, word got around pretty quick, so most people probably know by now, but in case you don't, the plan is to release a 56 card deck instead of a 54 card deck. So we did have to go back and create 2 new cards, and we also used the games and the feedback that we saw and felt like there were a handful of cards that needed to be modified, or they were doing too much, or there was even one in particular that just kind of didn't feel like we were doing what we wanted to do with the next few sets as far as the thought process of where we wanted to go. It was a little bit more than kind of what we wanted. So we've pulled a couple of them back. We've boosted a couple of them up, I feel. So just some subtle changes. We needed to make sure none of those were a big deal. I think we fairly well decided what we've settled on. And so that was the first step as to why they were delayed. And even though now that's done, that doesn't mean they're not still slightly delayed. And that's because we have another request from Rob. It's funny, Rob is literally all over this podcast, so a lot of the stuff that we're talking about was either incentivized by Rob or suggested by Rob. And this is obviously Rob Anderson,
yes,
the
not
owner
Rob,
of the game,
not Demon Hunter.
Yeah, not
Sorry,
Demon Hunter,
Rob
not Rob
Smith.
M Studios. Yeah, not the Rob. Yeah,
The real Rob.
Oof.
Well, the real Rob.
Sorry.
Please stand up.
Sorry, guys. Yes. So his request is and I guess this is the big news, and this is why we're here. Where are they? Why are we delayed? And the answer is
choo choo. Here comes that hype train again.
All right, hype train. Big announcement. I feel it coming.
The answer is Rob wants to raise funds for this Israel's Deliverance release through a Kickstarter to be able to fund it.
We want to fund starter decks by Kickstarter.
And here's the main reason why is those of you who don't fully understand everything that Rob does. Rob is very passionate about redemption, even though he's not involved in the thought process as far as like the cards that we create or the rule changes that we discuss or things like that. He is always involved in the sense that he has the final say. There's been times, even in the recent past, that we have made suggestions that we felt like, hey, maybe this would be something you consider to either do or not do, and he's decided to do what he wants to because again, it's his game and that's his prerogative, and we totally agree with him and get behind him. And so he has come to us saying that we need to do the Kickstarter because as much as he loves redemption and as much as it's a passion of his, it's not his main source of income for Cactus Game Design. So what he's requested is us as a Elders team to figure out the best way to do a Kickstarter, what that looks like, whether that's the more starters you buy, the cheaper they get, or some other type incentive. We're still working through all of that. So details are still to come, so there's still going to be another announcement, I guess, for all of that once we get all that figured out. But the biggest thing is Rob needs basically just the help with the funding to get these going. And the follow-up question, I guess, to that is what happens if the funding doesn't come? We still get the starters, but things change. So I guess that's kind of the biggest thing we need to present. If the Kickstarter goes through, it's exactly what we said. It's the 56 card deck. I can actually go ahead and tell you that the retail price is $20 with the wholesale option that people get through either their church or their business or things like that. The biggest issue is if something
$20 for both.
$20 retail for all. 56, so that's 112 cards.
But these aren't going to be sold as like
20,
no, you have to buy it, and you buy both.
Right, yeah. We're at Nationals, he sold them 54 for what was it, 1250 or something,
something
like that. Yeah, no, this is the full, both starter decks, KL.
Package just
the
like they
full
always have
package,
been.
yes, with packaging and all of that. Yes, for the $20.
Okay.
If we can't do the fundraiser, can't do the Kickstarter, the starters still go to print. So we're still getting the starters. The only issue is he has to use a different card manufacturer company. Printer, there we go, that's the word. And so we go back to the 54 cards that are basically released at Nationals. We still have a few cards that will be changing no matter what, because there were things from the feedback that we felt like did need to change. And the unfortunate thing is it would be $20 to $25 with no wholesale option.
At all.
At all. Like, it will be a Cactus game design exclusive on his website. Obviously, secondhand retailers can buy them and sell them, but if they sell them for anything less, they're losing money just because there's no wholesale option. So obviously that's not the ideal, but it's just kind of the situation that we're in and the request that Rob has given
And
us.
it's fair that he's being open about it.
Yeah,
with you guys.
absolutely. And the fact that he's asked us to, try to come up with ways. Honestly, we, as the group, I don't know if it makes you feel good or feel bad, is slightly intimidated by it a little bit, because we want to make sure we do the right things to make sure we do this correctly and get the support for Rob that he needs.
Yeah, because I know you guys first mentioned on the van ride home, we were talking about Kickstarter and potentially it being used to fund something like this. And then it's been crickets about it since, because you guys are obviously wanting to make sure that whenever you do announce it, there's time for people to save up or make a mental note that it's coming, so that they can then invest in the game that hopefully everyone sees on a track to a solid future, a bright future. And starters are a pivotal spot, especially considering the fact that you're basing the next sets kind of, pick up the starter and you can grow with the game for the next couple of sets and kind of have that story arc play out. So it would be really nice to be able to have that wholesale option. So hopefully the Kickstarter does go through, not to jump gears, but you mentioned changes that are going to happen no matter what. Are you at liberty to share with the beautiful people out there that are desperate for information? Because there's been a month without a podcast. And I know people thought we were thoughts from Portland, but we're coming back, and we need the fire sauce, okay?
You need the fire sauce.
We need you to give us all the juicy details. It's the what is it, after a reality show they have the tell all episode at the end?
Right.
We need the tell all.
I don't know how much of that I'm at liberty to share, because again, I'm allowed to share some of it, but it's one of those things too that we definitely saw changes, we definitely saw issues. So again, a lot of the changes were to maybe hurt some of the consistency, and that's again not to say that we felt like the starter decks were too strong or too much, but there was definitely a lot of stuff going on within the games. I remember there was one game at Nationals, I don't even remember who the players were, but they legitimately were playing actively, not stalling in any shape, form, or fashion, playing the cards within the time frame they were supposed to, and they took a 15-minute turn in the starter deck.
Yeah.
So, and that's not something we really want. So there was a couple of cards that we've kind of toned down a little bit to try to prevent a lot of the stacking things like that. There's some stuff that we added. I will say this, there was some stuff that we felt like going back through it, especially making the 56 card deck. Obviously, we added 2 more cards to the reserve, and there was not a whole lot of evil reserve access. There's only 2 or 3 cards that had it, so I can give you that much, that we did add some extra evil reserve access.
Okay.
And that's fun. The 2 cards that we added are things that you guys are definitely going to want. It's a new card type too, so I'll give you that much.
A new card type.
That's
Whoa.
not in the starters.
Hold the phone. A new card type that's just not in the starter?
That's just not in the starter.
Okay.
No, we didn't create
Not
a
a new
brand
card
new.
type. Okay.
No.
You got to watch your words.
Sorry,
now.
sorry. New card type for the starters.
Okay.
So I'll throw
that's
you that
never
out there.
been in starters before. Or was it in starters a long time ago? And I'm getting a puzzled
can
look.
say-
You can't see Chris's face, but
Yeah,
he is puzzled. He is quite perplexed.
No, it has not been in any of the starters.
So it wouldn't be a curse, or would it be a curse that is now not a curse? Because I noticed there's some rumors that you guys might be getting rid of the curse icon. But so there's
rumor?
that. Fortresses have already been in. Artifacts have been in. The only thing I can think of is covenants. But is there a covenant? There's not a covenant in the Nationals version.
Nope.
But you do have the artifact, and you might have blended an enhancement to make people choose whether to use it one way or the other. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
That way they have to
sounds
have
like a
that
good
thought
idea.
process of how to use it. So I think we've narrowed it down to it is a covenant, guys.
Okay.
A covenant in the starter decks.
So we'll just have to see. And again, we've got to get that Kickstarter, man. This is a
Kickstarter.
pipe dream if we don't get the Kickstarter.
So we have
So-
either way. What you take away from this conversation so far is we've got a lot of exciting things happening, and one of the most exciting is these new starters that are going to start us down that path with the next sets, and they are absolutely happening no matter what. But to get the extra 2 cards, are the extra 2 cards the reserve cards, or
yes,
because either you have to have 50 in main deck, so,
right? Yeah.
so they're reserve cards technically, and then you for the wholesale option, which being a big proponent of trying to teach new players the game, and like our buddy Brian spreading out teaching
Yes.
his students and things, having those at the discounted wholesale price, an option for people to do that with play groups starting at churches and things.
Yeah.
That's something that I think for the future of the game needs to happen. So all of that part of it is contingent on the successful Kickstarter.
Right.
Do you guys, is there a price that you know that we have to get to in total funding to boom, Kickstarter successful? Obviously, it's going to tell you when you sign up for Kickstarter where
Right.
you guys do it, but do you have that number yet?
I know the number. Well, Rob and I have been in a lot of conversations about a lot of numbers, about a lot of things, and the numbers have been thrown around, but we're not going to quite fully share that yet because, again, we're still working on what the tiers look like and all of that, just because if those things cause extra charges, I don't want to promise you guys one thing and then go up or go down
Gotcha.
one way or the other because we've got to cover potentially something extra that
So
we're doing.
the benefit
Yeah.
of like you donated this much,
Yeah.
you get this level prize because of your donation.
Right.
Those things might add to the cost.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Rob has given an option too, where if we already have the option, if you buy, one starter deck, you get it at the $20. If you buy 5, you get it at whatever percent discount. You buy X amount, you get it at a bigger discount. We've already discussed those numbers, but if there's anything else to added to it, we just want to, I'm going to play the politician role and just say, let me get back to you on that when I have more information.
I'm gonna play the reporter role and ask a follow-up question that's kind of the same question or in the same vein. Do you guys know what any of the prizes or whatever for tier? You mentioned maybe you get, a discounted price for the starter decks.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a lower level, So if you want a larger donation from someone to invest into the future of the game, is there I really want to do it because this. Do you guys have ideas of what those things are, and are they going to incentivize players to want to donate toward the future of the game?
Hey, if you're talking about, again, if we're talking about tiers, not yet. If you're talking about stretch, yeah, I've got a few stretch goals you probably want to hear about.
Okay, so I don't know how Kickstarter works. So what is the difference between tiers and stretch goals?
So again, this is another reason why we're taking a lot of time to do this, because we're still fully comprehending it. But my understanding as of today is that the tier goals is you buy or you spend X amount of money and you get whatever that says. Okay, and then if it's fully funded, so say we're raising money, we're trying to get $20. We have 20 people give $1. Everything's fully funded, so the project's going to print, right? So let's use a higher number just to actually have a little bit better options. So let's say a project that we're doing is $1,000. We have a tier at $5, a tier at $10, and a tier at $20. So, and for the $5, you get whatever the basic thing is. For the step up, you get something extra. I know. Is it Amino? Is that how you say it? The other card game that we've
I don't
done.
know how you say it, but Ken sells that one.
Yes,
right?
yes. And they've done 3.
It looks like the spelling of like amino acids.
Right. That's how
I guess.
But I don't know if that's correct or not. But so they did one, and I know there was like their base tier was get the starter deck, and then the next tier up was something like get some booster packs with it as well, and then the next tier up was get the starter deck, get the booster packs, and get a play mat. So that's the tier level. So you spend, the more you spend, the higher tier you go as far as that goes. And then there are stretch goals that are, okay, you can spend as much as you want. So like if the maximum tier that we just discussed was $20 and you want to spend $500 for some reason, you can. But why would you do that other than to support the company or the product that you're purchasing? Well, the answer to that is your stretch goals. And so what stretch goals are is if stretch goals are met, then everybody gets what those stretch goals are. It's how that generally works. So
not just the people that donated.
Everybody,
the top.
Not just the people that donated
So it's like
at the top tier.
It's basically like an empty cup, and once it fills up, everybody gets.
Everybody who's helped at a certain level,
So
which
even
is
if you
basically
did-
tier 1.
Even if you did like $20, then
Even if I did $5 and you did $500, once you reach the stretch goal, both of us get it.
okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times that looks like in a card game or something. It might look like foil cards or specialty cards or something
Foil
like
cards,
that.
you say?
Well, I mean that's how like probably Pokemon or something would do. And again, I don't. We haven't. You're not quoting me on any of this. I don't know what we're doing. Again, we haven't fully.
I'm not quoting you after the fact, but I'm prodding you.
Prodding me. But what I will say is, and this is what's been interesting, the main reason we are doing Kickstarter.
Look at Jeremy. He's trying to sneak into his bag of cookies.
Trying to get him a
so that he's not on the mic, and I just called him out.
Gee, thanks.
They're my wife cookies. Tell them how good they are.
Very good.
Chris's
We'll have
wife is
them at
selling
Nationals,
cookies.
yeah.
They are at Nationals, and if you do not buy at least 3 bags, then you will not place at Nationals, even if you win.
I don't know about any of that, but they're really good. And I love to support my wife. But anyways, Rob actually came to us and obviously told us that he needed the Kickstarter for the starter decks to fund it, get the wholesale value, but he actually had ulterior motives to do the Kickstarter.
Ulterior motives.
Ulterior motives. That's what we're going to call it because it seems a little bit more ominous.
You know, when people talk about ulterior motives, there's usually a negative connotation
That's
with
true.
it. It's
That's
usually
true.
like, I'm pretending that I'm doing this, but my ulterior motive is usually something more sinister.
Yeah, that's true.
So if
yeah.
we're doing a Kickstarter for starter decks, what's the sinister plot?
The sinister plot. It's so sinister you guys are going to hate it. And it's actually, it might be so sinister because you guys are going to love it. And that he knows that you want it so bad.
Do you
That's
think,
what it is.
Okay, before we talk about what it is, because obviously I know what's forthcoming a little bit, maybe not in great detail, but how much do you think, how often have players complained about said thing?
A lot.
How frequent are those complaints? How passionate are those complaints? And do you think that this is something that every redemption player wants, no matter who they are?
So the answers to those was, wait, now I forgot them.
It was how much do people complain about them? How frequent is that complaint?
Okay.
Like when a new player starts, how soon do you see in your play group a player tries out the game? How quickly do they complain about this thing?
Basically, when they buy their first pack.
When they buy their first pack, even if it's like Gospel of Christ pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's a okay.
Yeah.
What Prophecy of Christ?
Prophecy-
It doesn't matter
every
about
pack.
the set.
Well, there's a little bit of, just to give people a further hint who want to guess, you don't struggle with it if you buy a super pack.
Oh, you do not struggle if you buy a super pack.
Yeah.
Is it because you get double the chance at the rare slot in the pack? That could be.
That could be it.
That could be it.
Or it could be the fact that everybody's tired of all those scroll cards in the back of their sets or their packs.
You
and they
mean
want to
those
get rid of
busted booster draft cards?
Yeah, the ones that don't have correct wording, like that you drafted today or last night.
Yeah, that I should have had a battle winner.
And it doesn't work
And
that way because
apparently
the
hasn't-
errata doesn't say it.
At least Marcus was on my side. He was like, it should have been this. I don't know why
But it's not. Yeah.
So-
all of those cards that everybody either has a ton of or nobody wants. Yes.
Okay.
So everybody complains that we don't want classic cards in our packs. Rob has actually even had multiple emails from brand new players getting into the game, buying starter decks and buying a handful of packs, and then or they found out about us and maybe they got on the Discord and they're like, hey, I'm going to buy some packs. Which of these don't have any of the classic cards because I know you guys are in rotation? And his answer is super packs, which is not
the more expensive option.
Yeah, which is the more expensive option, and obviously for most people it's a good deal. But if you're just trying to get into the game and you don't want to commit a ton of money to it, that's a little bit of a struggle. So the stretch goals and again, one of the main reasons outside of the wholesale for the Kickstarter or for the starter decks for the Kickstarter is Rob wants to use the stretch goals to incentivize, I guess is a word, but again, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal. It's just something we've been calling for. So he's wanting to key into what the community wants, and he wants to remove the classic cards from the packs and put in rotation only cards.
Okay. So I think since I've gotten into the game, I have figured out that I have a disdain. Like, I cannot stand the classic style cards that have the box at the bottom, but then puts the ability on the picture and whatnot. So I was one of the quick, like, buy your first pack, instant complaint. But that's also because my first pack was Angel Wars. Like, don't get me and it did not have a Michael. If I pulled a Michael, I might have been like, look, it's this cool gold border.
Well, it's like
but
that,
I
man.
didn't. I got like Obsidian Minion times 10. Anyway, so instantly you're like, these cards don't look great. And then new packs came out, and I was like, Prophecy of Christ. That's the latest set when I got in. I'm going to buy this. And
You still got Angel Wars in the back.
you still got the stuff in the back, and you're like, what? So I understand 100% this. And I am so excited about this. And I think that if that changed, like if we fast forward 2 years into the future and those cards are gone and you have people buying rotation packs that only have rotation cards, I think 100% the game is in a much better state overall from an overall appearance to a non-player.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. And we're all about trying to get new players into the game. I think that's huge. So I think this is maybe one of the coolest and most important announcements in Redemption history.
Yeah.
Coming to you live on the Threshing Floor podcast.
Right.
That is not on hiatus any longer.
Yeah.
Until next time, but-
Until you take another break.
So what are the cards that are going to fill? Is it going to be more of that set, or is it going to be, say, I know Early Church just got retired. Or we're not talking about. Rob can't know the issue and be in tune with it to know the issue is there. And then like Early Church, like what he has left over is going to become what's in the back of the packs. Persecuted Church. So it wouldn't be like you buy GOC, for example, and now you're getting older rotation sets in the back.
No. So this is brand new cards that we are creating on the new card facing. that matches Israel's deliverance, will match Israel's rebellion. They are cards that we have been working on, and ultimately we are using this in hopes, again, that it gets funded. And if it doesn't get funded, it just doesn't get funded. But in hopes that when it gets funded, that's obviously the hope. When it gets funded, we are filling gaps with cards that are missing, or maybe things there are.
Daniel is getting a boost. If something, I remember Tyler when we first rotated, he's like, "We're keeping a list of decks that lost things, what they lost, and what they need to be viable." Mm-hmm. Are you referring to the same list now?
A little bit. So it kind of depends. I know we've talked about it, but Tyler and I actually had this conversation this week, and we already are trying to develop a plan where we are going for the next 5 or 6 years, and we kind of have a thought process. And so, assuming that we're not doing a Daniel set soon, then you'll see some Daniel sets and Roots. I guess that might be a spoiler. That if we get, did I call it that?
You did. You let it slip. You let it slip.
You already knew. You already knew what it was called.
I know. I'm playing devil's advocate to act like I don't know.
Tree, because that made no sense. And that is the name of it. Roots. We're getting back to our redemption roots, redeveloping. And this some old a lot of what we're doing is with it called redemption roots. We're trying to get back to the some of the old school classic cards that didn't get rotated, haven't seen the light of day since rotation 2. So some of that's there to not only fill in, but assuming that we don't have a planned book or thought process on schedule, then there's always a good chance that they see print within this. But again, it also depends on how well we support it. So Rob has given us multiple options, which is cool. Like Rob he's pushing this to make this happen, and he's going to do whatever he can and whatever basically we can to do this. He's given us 3 different options where if we meet this stretch goal, he's going to give us 112 different cards that go in the back of the packs. If we reach goal number 2, we get 168. He wants 224. That's what Rob wants. But that's 3, stretch goals down the line. And he wants that because he wants this to be, again, the filler from here on out. And here's the fun part. It's going to start with Israel's Rebellion. That's where these cards will be introduced, with Israel's Rebellion. So Israel Rebellion packs.
That's a quick time frame.
Yeah.
So you guys have already been working.
Oh yeah, we might already have 200 cards done.
Nice.
So, or more. So yeah, he wants that. He will release it with Israel's Rebellion. So if again all this goes through, Kickstarter's funded, we get the stretch goals. We get Israel's Rebellion with only rotation cards. And then same thing moving forward. So the next set, Israel's, I'm not going to tell you, is going to have...
Israel something.
Is going to have, again, these Roots cards. And they're not going to change. That's kind of the thought process.
So you'll have like a consistency almost to booster draft
a
little bit. And the front pack will be like the oddball that changes.
Right. And it'll be technically for newer stuff, but Rob has also promised that... if you guys have tried to order from him and he's told you he's been out of stock, basically what he does is he sends in a new print run, gets the cards, repackages them. Anytime he repackages an old set, he's going to include them as well. So he runs out of Prophecies of Christ, for instance. He orders a new print run of Prophecies of Christ. He gets them. Classic cards are gone. Roots is in.
That's cool.
So, yep.
I feel like there's 100 questions I should ask about this, but I don't know which one to ask first. So we saw a spoiler of Covenant with Death.
That wasn't the name of it. It was redacted.
Was it?
Yeah, you didn't see anything.
Oh, okay. So we saw roses. We saw roses, and it had the old ability, but it did not have. And this is where I mentioned it seemed like maybe Redemption was trying to get rid of the snake icon for curses. Is that card a true potential card in this? Like, because I would say that's a powerhouse card for the entire game of Redemption. Is it potentially going to be in this?
Potentially. Anything's open.
Well, okay. Point blank, is there going to be a version of that in? And is there a chance that it stays the original wording, like does what it did intend?
We would
originally.
just have to see. It's obviously something that could be printed. That comes back to, this is kind of another one of those things like the tiers. I'm not going to make any promises because, again, we've already sat down and we've done 200 cards. But if we only get 112 of them funded, then we've got to figure out which ones we're keeping. So there's,
okay.
So
if we
no
only get
guarantee.
112 funded, what is the amount that is 112 sufficient enough to replace the
Rob
ones?
thinks so. It just means you're going to see
more frequent.
You're going to see the cards more frequently. Yeah. So, obviously, this Roots is not created for you to go crazy like I do and try to get X amount of cards really, really quickly. You'll just get them over time because they're all going to be the same rarity. There's not going to be ultra rares or anything within this. They're just going to be
no Roots rare or anything.
No, nothing like that. No. So.
What
But.
is there? So, since you kind of dodged around the covenant with death, is there any type of card that you can give us? Like, here's an example of a card that we thought was well within the spectrum or scope of what we want cards to do in the new rotation format that just hasn't been printed. That this is one that we're wanting to put on the list, so that we have an idea of like the power level of the card. Because I assume that if Covenant with Death does go in, that would be like that'd be like the ultra rare of like the old cards that we picked for, you guys picked for this. I say we, like I'm involved somehow. But like what's the like base level or average level?
I think something that was promised a long time ago, and I don't know if a lot of people realize it, but there was a promise at one point in time that we would potentially reprint the Fall of Man Legacy rares.
I've heard
because
that.
they're so difficult to get.
Yeah, I still don't know.
So something like the Hopper, something like the Punisher Lost Soul, those are...
That has Amalekite Slave as well, right?
Amalekite Slave is on there. Lot's Wife, it's a very basic card, but it's also very strong, just banned to any character.
Especially in Booster.
Especially in Booster. So those are definitely cards that are on the list, not only because we promised to print them eventually to get them in more people's hands, but that's kind of along the lines of what we're looking at. So.
And Roots, since you bring up a Legacy Rare, Roots would be replacing any future Legacy Rares, so there will not be any more Legacy Rares moving forward. I think I heard that somewhere, but I don't know if it was official.
Yeah, it's not in the plans. I won't say never, but as of right now, no. There will not be any more cards that are printed in the Legacy Rare format in the sense that they are the basic identical print of a card. Most of them we're just going to, if we're going to reprint a card, we might use some of the old information and just either add to it or change it slightly just to make it a more unique card than an exact replica of an old one.
If you were to, because in your mind, even though you guys haven't settled on what, like you're not telling us the final amount that you think we might need, but you probably know a ballpark number. Mm-hmm. Do you foresee, whenever you guys make the announcement and open this up to donations, what are your gut instinct right now? Do you think it gets funded, and then where do you think we hit all of the stretch goals, or do you think it's something to where we're going to have to band together, pun intended, as a community and really push to make all of the stretch goals? Because I think the more variety in those cards would be better for the long-term health of the game.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think we will hit I feel confident, and the team does too, especially if we can get the tiers and things right. that the Kickstarter for the starter decks will be funded. We're very confident with that. We are slightly concerned about hitting the 224 root set just because it numbers wise, and again extra numbers wise, and just even though we have a very active community, it's still fairly small, and that's another reason why I wanted to get on here and announce it. But it's sorry guys, you still have to wait a little bit longer. That's something we haven't announced yet. So this is not going to go through until closer to the end or the beginning of the year. We're looking probably at early 2023, because right now, I don't know if you guys have experienced it. It's like if you're on the Discord and things like that, we are in that post-nationals lull. Like there's a lot of highly active people in our community that are not highly active right now.
I'm sorry, man.
No,
I've been working. It's like you come on my podcast here. I bring my equipment up to your tournament, and I have you on here just for you to bash me like this. I just
man. The truth is the truth. I'm sorry. It's one of those sayings I've heard before, where the preacher gets up and all they do is shoot the shotgun, and the person who yelps is the one that was hit. That's not their fault.
That is such a Baptist phrase. I've heard that from old preacher heads.
Yep.
Forever.
I've got an old preacher head dead. So
there
that's
you
what
go.
That is. So
it ain't my fault you're yelling.
Yeah. But no, that's the plan. So we wanted to wait until the beginning of the year, maybe even really early spring, because that's when people start getting back into the game. That's when we're starting to ramp up. Mr. Classic. Yeah, we're ramping up tournament play. People are starting to plan for states and regionals, and people are getting excited to get to nationals and get the new cards in hand, and start making sure their decks are good. So that's the thought process, that we want to get this out in the open, get people excited about it, but hopefully not too early that people lose excitement, but hopefully, like you said, that we can start rallying the troops. And another thing that we're hoping and obviously very much praying for is that God leads and uses this Kickstarter as a way, kind of as free, almost like free advertisement for Rob. We're hoping and praying that some people who want to just support a wholesome Christian game will find it through Kickstarter and support it, and maybe be introduced to our game as well. So that's I know my wife and I have found some games on Kickstarter that was a Christian game, a version of other games. Like there's a one that's basically the Christian Cards Against Humanity and things like that. So that we've supported. And
is it Christ Against Humanity?
It's Cards Christians Like is the name of it. So. And it's fun. And it was one of those, I think a lot of people were just looking for a wholesome version, alternative, and it was funded well.
Which is exactly how Redemption started.
Yeah.
When you get back to the roots of the game, Rob Anderson wanted an alternative to Magic the Gathering's themes and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool that it's almost full circle here.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's kind of, and we've had a kind of renaissance in the last couple of years. There was a few years ago that there was a lot of people that were leaving the game, and the game kind of seemed like in a bad spot, and we've picked back up, and I think COVID tried to kill us, and it didn't do very well, and we've done pretty good after that. So
I do think the bare bones for a great future for the game is in place, and I think it's just fine-tuning and finding. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we know you have some balance issues with the territory class stuff, and
thanks, Jeremy.
It skews some of the overall impact of like if I was to describe the current state of the game, I feel like some people can focus on that part, but then when you think about there's new play groups being started, potentially new starters coming, hopefully at the wholesale price, for them to be more accessible for play groups starting up, for churches to buy and give out and or maybe sell. And I feel like the bones are there for the game to continue that upward trend of bringing people back in. So I think Roots it fits right in line with that. And now I'm just going to be honest, I'm going to be disappointed if we can't hit the stretch goals. So
So
for every podcast that we have, you might have me fussing at you about that, guys. We got to hit these stretch goals.
Yeah.
I'm tired of these ugly Angel Works cards.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's another reason why we wanted to make the announcement. We talked about it and just felt like it was, especially you being gone for a bit, just a good kind of return announcement and getting people excited about it. And we're getting into the holidays, and obviously if you've got kids or something, you're not gonna not get your kids something. But if you're asking your family or something for a Christmas present, it might not be a bad idea to try to
pitch in on this.
Yeah, get some cash, or pitch in on this Kickstarter when it comes through or something. That I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be like, I don't want anything. I want my money going to this to make this happen. So.
Well, that is definitely exciting news. Is there? And I see we're at the end of the list now, but I would not be a true interview person if I did not ask you to go off script a little bit.
Okay.
So, is there any other cool things about the game that you want to share?
Do you know something I don't?
No, I'm throwing shots in the dark.
No, not that I can think of. We've Tyler in particular has been working really hard on the next two sets.
Next two sets. So, we're getting that down. We're gonna, like I said, barring any craziness, we're gonna make sure that's ready to roll at NAS. That's the mode we're in, is full. Not quite, but almost. Make sure this is good and healthy, and we've already made a bunch of changes on it, so we want to make sure we get something that's easy to understand, but yet fun and competitive too. And that's kind of a hard balance sometimes. Yeah. So we have Israel's deliverance, Israel's rebellion, and Israel's
something.
Israel's reclamation, Israel's return,
You'll just have to,
Israel's fulfillment, Israel's promise, Israel's.
I got nothing.
You got nothing. Okay. So, I guess before we wrap this up, I guess we could try to talk Jeremy into coming over here and talking a little bit about, Mr. Classic.
No, I'm good.
Jeremy does not want to be on the podcast, guys. So
that's the best you're going to get from Jeremy.
Do me a favor, guys. What I need you to do is to get in Discord, tag Jeremy, and be like, be on the podcast, bro. You're a loser if you're not on the podcast. Okay? Shame him for not being on the podcast. Is there any other Mr. Classic news that you can give at this time? How many seats have we filled out, that type of thing? And I heard a rumor that there may be an outside chance that a big wow factor is still involved.
We got some good things coming.
We got some good things coming. You heard it here first from the chicken farmer himself. We got some good things coming.
It'll be fun. I'm excited to host it. I'm excited to see everybody twice potentially too. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Jeremy told me that since Nationals is being held in Knoxville and it's a closer ride, that we should road trip and take over, or not take over, but invade. That was the word. Invade someone's regional tournament. So, if you want the boys from Alabama to come to your regional tournament, I guess you can, while you're tagging Jeremy, you can just tell us why we should come to your tournament. Yeah. And we come too strong because I've only got 2 seats in the car. we got some podcast gear, and we got a lot of. Well, Jeremy's pretty good, and I'm just okay. We got a lot of that going on. So we're just looking for a regional tournament to welcome us with open arms. If that could be you, please call this number on your screen now.
There you go.
So we'll get ready to wrap up here. Thanks, guys, for listening. Sorry we've been on break. I can't promise it won't happen again, but we're back for now, baby. Peace. All right, guys, that's going to do it for episode number 47 of the Threshing Floor podcast. As always, thanks for joining, and check you out next time. Peace.